When that decision is made to stop carrying the weight of the world, there's an expectation that there's going to be some relief that follows, right? But instead, there's often a sense of guilt. And that guilt looks different depending on the room that you're in and the role that you're playing in all of this. Maybe you're the family anchor, the one who manages the aging parents, the schedules, and the emotional temperature of the house. To you, silence feels like you're failing the people that you love. Or maybe you're the strong friend that is the designated listener when everyone calls at 2 a.m. or these random times. But you also feel like, you aren't allowed to have a crisis of your own. You're so busy picking up the phone and being the savior to everyone else's problems. But what happens when you have a crisis? Maybe you're that high achiever, the one who has spent years and years chasing the next goal, the next grade, or the next promotion, only to realize that without a result to produce, you don't really know who you are. Or maybe you're in that spiritual struggle where you're caught in the tension between trusting God and feeling like you have to help him out by doing all the work yourself. It's important to understand that no matter what role you play, that feeling of guilt isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you're in the process of rewiring. Your brain is so used to that high stakes adrenaline of being the hero. And when that step back is taken, there's often a gap, and that gap is in your identity. If that gap isn't filled with purpose, it will naturally be filled with anxiety. Let me say that again. When you finally take that step back, there's going to be a gap that's going to exist, and it's going to be a gap in your identity. And if that gap isn't filled with purpose, it will naturally be filled with anxiety. But there's a shift. There's always a shift. And we often think about our strength and that our strength is going to be found in that constant movement, right? But Isaiah 30 reminds us that our true strength is actually found in quietness and in trust. We try to build everything ourselves, rising up early and staying up late and toiling over every single detail, forgetting that the Creator grants rest to those who are loved. And when we step back, we got to remember that we aren't being lazy just because we're stepping back. We are finally acknowledging who is actually in charge of the growth. And for a fixer, being still feels like negligence. And there is a thought that if the movement stops, then the world stops. But this is actually a reminder of sovereignty. It is an act that moving out of the way can be beneficial, right? It's an act of moving out of the way so that the divine can move in and take control. And I'm sharing this with you because I had to go through this. And to be honest, I'm still learning daily how to just slow down. This is a ever growing, ever going process each and every day where you're conscious and in the moment. And I've realized that everything is not an emergency, right? And everything is not urgent. I've noticed that when I take my morning slow, I can ease into the day rather than just jumping straight into what's on the horizon for me for the day. Not every issue that they bring to me is an emergency. I'm learning to return it back to the sender to work through. And I realized that some people just don't want to put the mental thought into working through some of these problems. They like to press the easy button. And for a long time, I was that easy button. And another thing is I'm beginning to release the guilt of giving it back or just not being available when it comes to taking care of my health, my family, or something personal that I may have been neglecting over time. I'm finally enjoying the moment of not having to answer every question or come up with a decision for everything that comes my way or grab an electronic device to respond to something or to coordinate something or set something up. But just being in the moment, if I could just take a minute and just be in the moment, things just kind of slow down for me. And I want to talk about 3 shifts in this silent season when you're making that transition from saying yes to saying no. And in order to survive this transition from being the fixer to being the human being, you have to do these 3 things. And the first one is you have to transition from utility to identity. Utility to identity. The habit of seeing ourselves as just a tool must stop. It has to stop. A human being is valuable just by existing and being present at the table. Number 2, from solving to supporting. From solving to supporting. Sometimes the best way to show love is to let others handle their own challenges. Growth depends on each person driving their own life. And number 3, from noise to discernment. It's my favorite one. From noise to discernment. The silence isn't empty. It's where the voice is finally heard again. It's where you ask, who am I when no one is asking me for anything? Who am I if no one is asking me for anything? And I want to take a moment to ground us in the stillness. So if you can, if you're still listening, just take a second to be physically present. I want you to unclench your jaw. I want you to drop your shoulders away from your ears. And if your hands are balled up, I want you to open them. And I want you to feel the weight of your body where you are sitting or standing right now. And I want you to take a breath, not a fixer type of breath, not a fixer type of breath where you're just trying to get through the next task, but a deep, slow breath that belongs to you and only you. And I want you to remind yourself that in this very second, there is no emergency that requires you to be jumping through hoops right now. You are allowed to simply occupy this space without producing any results. And this week, the assignment for you is to find a gap. Find a gap. And I want you to resist the urge of trying to jump in and fix it. And I want you to just leave it alone. Leave it alone. When a problem is seen that is outside of your scope, outside of your lane, is something that belongs to someone else, don't dive in. Don't dive in to fix it. Sit with that internal pulse. Feel that restlessness. And then offer a reminder to yourself, I am not what I do. I am who I am becoming. I am not what I do. I am who I am becoming. The silence isn't a void to be filled. It's a clearing where your purpose finally has room to breathe. But I know that fear. I know the fear that follows the silence. I've been there. If I stop being the easy button for everyone else, what happens to my relationships? If I stop carrying the weight of others, who's going to pick it up? In the next episode, we're going to be moving from the silence that we feel now that's so uncomfortable into conversation. We're going to talk about the art of the clean break, how to set boundaries that stick without losing your heart in the process. Because let's be honest, when you start setting boundaries for yourself, people get mad. They get in their feelings and they start to take things the wrong way. But all you're doing is protecting your peace and setting up a boundary for yourself. And it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. But that's what we're going to get into the next time. How to set boundaries and stick to that without losing your heart in the process. This is Alicia with Divine Living with Purpose, and I'll meet you right there next time.